often think that the light of understanding comes from a place other than the light that is provided by the natural world. We can tend to believe that the light of understanding is something that is inbuilt in a human, and therefore the light that we may associate with enlightenment and understanding is maybe created by the human mind. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this because having done a workshop recently, which was very, very successful, and having introduced the idea of seeing things in a slightly different light, shall I say, it's come to me that there's more we could do to turn to the natural world for our needs and maybe return to the way our ancestors would have understood the way life works. So I wanted to introduce the idea that light comes from the natural world. It not only comes from the natural world, it is all we have. We do not have any other light. And I'm pretty certain our ancient ancestors would have agreed with me. The fact that all we have is sunlight, starlight, moonlight. And if we're talking about the light of understanding, then it can only come from those natural things. So I need to explain what I mean when I relate it to understanding. If you take your time to understand something and you say, oh, I really got the picture there, a light bulb went on inside. We sometimes speak like this, don't we? Light bulb is a very good illustration of unnatural light, fabricated light, if you like. If we say something like that I suddenly understood, I suddenly saw the light, then that equates with seeing the light that we have from the natural world. And that is a blessing. This is the point, that we don't actually see it so much as a blessing anymore because we have sunlight every day, even if we can't see the sun. The sunlight is there, hidden behind cloud. And when you think how powerful that light is, we can't fabricate that. A light bulb can never simulate the light of the sun. We can't start it, we can't stop it. And it's the same with starlight. If you have a really bright starlit night and the moon is there shining as well, then you're really looking at something that is very ancient. So when you're saying the light of understanding and you're looking at the stars, that is the light you are being blessed with, and that is the light you are accessing. Now, you may recall that I might have said before that for many ancient ancestors, the stars represented ancestors. The stars comprise the place where all your ancestors lived, and they were honoured to go to the heavens and to be welcomed there. I suppose if they played their cards right. And that gave us the idea of the stars being an influence on you, so which is really where astrology comes from. The stars were a great influence, and they would have been if that's all you would have seen at night, because you didn't have street lighting, you didn't go into your homes, you were mostly outside around a campfire or out in the air, under the sky. So you would have seen the stars in all their glory. And they were a big, big influence. That's what the word influence is related to. The stars had the power to influence you and connect you to your true destiny. When we get the word influenza, that comes from the word influence. And it's remarkable to me that we can associate starlight and sunlight with understanding. And we've got to do this more, because if we think how powerful sunlight and starlight and moonlight are, then maybe we can see that when we understand something, we are connecting to something very ancient, something very powerful, but also extremely ancient. And when we think about the light of understanding that's contained within the stars, we are connecting with those ancient ancestors who looked down upon us. And some of those are thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. And it's well known that starlight is billions of years old and takes billions of years to reach us. I don't know all the scientific equations, but we've got a record in it in science. And of course, science follows on from the way we used to see these things. Science is something that has been invented in later times. And you may say, what are you talking about, invented? But it has been invented. Our ancestors in the deeper past didn't go around measuring things and saying, well, scientifically, this means that, it was invented by the intellect. It was invented by people who needed to have some physical equation to answer the questions that we asked about life. And of course, that left out all the ancestral knowledge that we've been carrying around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And suddenly that was gone. I know that if you said to an ancient ancestor, I suddenly saw the light, I suddenly had the light of understanding, he or she would equate that with suddenly being able to see the sunlight more clearly, suddenly being able to see the stars more clearly. And that, to me, is quite wonderful. That reconnects us with something that is extremely old. And there is no other light. We always say the light within. I really, honestly don't know what I don't know what that is. And that can never match the light that I've got coming in through the window now. How can it? And the sunlight is so unassuming. It's so humble. It's so powerful. And it means that Cam's got an awful lot of power to pass over to us if we look at the sunlight and understand what it's all about. Understand the values, the qualities within it, not the fact that it's so many billions of miles away and it does this and it does that scientifically. Yes, that has a purpose. Yeah, that does have a purpose, but it's not everything. And try to get your head around this. You don't have to believe that the scientific equations of what sunlight is the reality, because it isn't, because once it wasn't. See science as a reality, not the reality. I suppose there are many realities, but science is just one of them. What is the reality of the sun? Where have those values gone? The values of Cam, the sun. That means courage and strength and humour and artistic and creative flair. It means all those things, and that's what we would have took from Cam if we could possibly gain the light of understanding. And when we gain the light of the stars, we are, of course, looking at ancestors. Ancestors who watch over us and try to ensure that we're connected to our true destiny. And we too could hope to reach the stars as well one day. So try, if you can, to change your outlook on this. The light within, the light that you experience, the white light or the light, whatever colour you want to call it, the light within cannot compare to the light without. And I'm always talking about not internalizing everything, but externalizing everything. Start to look outside yourself. Don't look within for all the answers. We're all little. Humans are all little. We're nothing compared to the ancestors who are in the stars. We're nothing compared to the sun. We're nothing compared to the moon. Who are we to say that our light within is greater than anything else? As I said before, I don't really know what that is. I'd much rather think that I am maybe taking on the qualities and values of the sun. And then maybe we could say it's within. But we don't want it to grow within. That sounds a bit weird and creepy. What we want to do is exercise, practice those values, toy with them in our minds, gain an understanding of what they actually mean when we say courage, when we say strength, when we say humour. Let's have a bit of humour. Don't be so serious. And let's also be creative about the way we think, to look at things a little more open-mindedly. So, the light of the stars. Have a look at the stars when they're next very bright in the sky and think of your ancestors of long, long, long ago. I don't mean ancestors just recently passed. I don't mean your grandma, your great-grandfather or whatever. I mean people thousands of years ago who you're connected to. You prick your finger, squeeze, draw blood, and that blood is their blood. And that light in the stars is your light. That's the light of understanding. That's the true light of understanding. What we find in the moon, the sun, and the stars. Surely there's nothing better than that, is there?